So coming back today, got a new series for the ranking series, and that is my NBA draft big board. So I've done an NFL draft big board already. That's done with. That was not part of the same ranking series though, and I just finished up with my NBA rankings. If you've not seen that yet, I'll post the link to that entire playlist in the description below. Should definitely go check that out. And instead of doing college basketball, I'm actually going to do, like I said, an NBA draft big board. So I'm going to do my top 10 at each position, and today I'm going to start with point guards. So start at number 10, and I have the 5'9" point guard out of Kentucky, and that is Tyler Ulis. So Tyler Ulis is one of the obviously bigger players this year for Kentucky, a team that's kind of been resurgent of late, and he's been leading the way really the entire season. Now, obviously, size is really the biggest problem for Ulis. I imagine he will be entering the draft this year. He's quick, he can drive, he's a decent shooter, good facilitator, but again, the problem is the size, and the defensive matchups a lot of time just won't be able, I just don't know if he'll be able to handle him in the NBA. For me, I have him projected as a late second round, maybe undrafted. So, at number 9, I've got the 6'2", 180-pound point guard out of Texas, and that is Isaiah Taylor. So Isaiah Taylor is a guy that I think has actually pretty good upside in the NBA. For me, he projects as a late second-round pick. He has been a very good player at Texas. I believe he's going in, or that he is currently in his third year there. And this is a guy that is probably one of the fastest point guards in the draft. He will lead a very good transition game wherever he plays. I believe he could be a very serviceable backup point guard. So in number 8, I've got maybe the guy with the shakiest draft stock right now, and that is Mississippi State's Malik Newman. Now, in my first mock draft, I actually had Malik Newman in the first round. He's got a tremendous scoring touch. He is, at least in my opinion, one of the best scorers, or at least has the potential to be one of the best scorers in college basketball. He's got tremendous, like absolutely tremendous upside in the NBA. I think that with a little bit of work in college, maybe staying another year. Now, I get it, it's 2016 NBA draft big board. I still think he's going to end up going into this draft, but if he does end up staying, that could help him greatly. But like I said, this is a guy that just has a great scoring touch. He's got a good work ethic, and I think that he will be very good in the NBA. But again, his inconsistency so far this year will probably cost him. He can play at the 1 or the 2. If he does play at the 1, obviously he's a guy that will be a little bit big for a point guard, but again, he's got the speed to do it. And like I said, I think he's got high upside. I don't know where he projects right now. I think if he finishes off the season well, if teams kind of realize his potential, he could be a late first round pick. But for right now, I'd say mid second round is where he would fall in. So at number 7, I've got the NC State product, and that is Cat Barber. So Anthony Barber, whatever you know him as. So Cat Barber's actually had a pretty good career under the radar at NC State. This is his junior year, and I think this is a guy that will end up going in the mid-second round. He's proving to actually be this year an NBA-ready player. I think this is a guy that is maybe the fastest point guard in this class, kind of similar to Isaiah Taylor. I don't know how high of upside he has in the NBA, and he's not the strongest player either, but this is a guy that's a very good facilitator on offense. He can definitely drive, and I think that he's a very NBA-ready player. I think he's as NBA-ready as you're going to find in the second round. Like I said, I do have him projected as a mid-second round pick. And 6'2", I think he matches up decently with most point guards in the NBA. So at number 6, I've got, I believe, the 6'1" point guard out of Oregon State, Gary Payton II. So I think that Gary Payton could fall in maybe at the late first round, but probably early second. He is probably the most NBA-ready point guard in this draft, maybe outside of Chris Dunn. And I think he's got a pretty polished game all over the place. He's a good defensive player. His potential, or his ceiling, really isn't that high. I think probably the worst part of his game maybe his driving, his ball handling is not great, but he's got extremely good instincts. He's a great leader on the floor. He can definitely shoot, and I think this is a guy that will be a very good backup point guard for a long time in the NBA. So at number 5, I've got the Vanderbilt product, Wade Baldwin. So Wade Baldwin to me is a pretty intriguing prospect. I have him as a late first to early second round pick. He's been up and down with his draft stock this year, as Vanderbilt's been up and down this season as well. This dude has a freakish wingspan. I think it's been measured up to 7 feet, even though he's only 6'3". He's got a good scoring touch. He's a very intriguing prospect. Like I said, the size is definitely there. He's athletic. The frame could definitely use some filling out, but I think he's got a high ceiling in the NBA. At number 4, I have the 6'1" Notre Dame product, and that is Demetrius Jackson. So Demetrius Jackson filled some pretty big holes last year. Pretty big shoes. And actually this year, and he's actually obviously excelling in that role, leading a Notre Dame team that will probably be going to the tournament this year. For me, Demetrius Jackson's a guy who is a pretty NBA-ready player. I think his game's pretty polished as is. He is a junior. Jerian Grant, that's the name I was looking for. And the size isn't great. He's got a pretty filled out frame at 200 pounds. Like I said, he's a junior, so he's had time to fill that out. He's a good facilitator. He's quick. He's got a decent shot. I think if anything can be polished off, it's definitely his shooting. But at number 3, I have the 6'3" Maryland product, and that is Melo Trimble. So Melo Trimble, 6'3". Melo Trimble's had an up and down year, as has Maryland. Maryland team that has been expected to do big things all year. And I think that Trimble's got one of the higher upsides of any player in this draft. He could definitely use a little bit of polishing off. I believe he is a sophomore. And I think he's pretty consistent all over the board. He's a guy that, with a little bit more of a developed game, I think can be a good facilitator. He's a very good shooter. He's just really good offensively. And he's also a guy that can match up well defensively. He's got, like I said, good height. 6'3" is a good size for point guard in the NBA. He's got good strength. The speed's not great, but he can really hang with any point guard I think that he would have to defend in the NBA. So at number 2, I've got the 6'4" Kentucky product, and that is Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray could be listed as Melo Trimble I projected as a first-round pick, and I think I said Demetrius Jackson also I projected as a first-round pick. But Jamal Murray, to me, it has probably the most unrealized upside of any player in this draft. Obviously, he's got good size. He will fit in as a combo guard, probably as a lottery pick. And I just think that he's one of the better offensive point guards in this draft. He probably has the best shot as a point guard in this draft. And I just think that there's a few other things. Turnovers have been a little bit of a problem this year. I think the speed can be a little bit more realized too. I think his agility could use a little bit of improving, and him as a facilitator could use a little bit of improvement as well. But like I said, I think he will probably go as a lottery pick, maybe top 20 at the absolute worst. So at number 1, I have the 6'4" Providence product, Chris Dunn. I think Chris Dunn is far and away the best point guard product in this draft. He would have been probably the best point guard last year also. I have to think back to last year, but he would have been a top 10 pick regardless last year as well. He's got I think that he's the most NBA-ready player in this draft. Like I said, he could have gone out last year as a sophomore, but now as a junior. He's got unbelievable speed. He's got a lot of athleticism, very good on defense, good size. Obviously, it's 6'4", 220. He's a good facilitator. He's at high ceiling in the NBA. I think this guy will fit in starting really wherever. I think his wingspan's around 6'9" too, so that will help him out as well. And he's got He's got a good vertical too. This guy's just athletic really all over the board. I think that he will probably fit in as a top 5 pick. If I had to say right now, I believe I had him at like number 6 in my last mock draft. I'd say top 8 at the worst, but he will be a lottery pick. So that concludes my first NBA mock draft, or excuse me, NBA big board video. And I will be coming back tomorrow with my shooting guard rankings. This will be a short little mini series. Should be done within the week. And yeah, I hope that you guys will interact with the videos a little bit. You know, comment who you think will be some of the best players in this draft, who you think has these strengths or weaknesses, and what you guys think I missed with my rankings. Like I said, I like hearing your guys' comments, so comment, like, subscribe so you can see more of these videos. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. But today I wanted to come back with my next version of my NBA mock draft. So my first NBA mock draft, I did a little bit of things weird. I went from 30 to 0 or 30 to 1 instead of going 1 to 30. But I probably went in a little bit more in depth for the prospects as I'm going to do in this video, just because the last one was like a